Alrighty, let's go. Welcome back into the Skooshi Sport Podcast and continuation of your NRL Season 2026 team previews. We are on team number 11, I believe, out of the 17. We're easily over halfway. We've got 10 out. We've already done 10 previous teams before this one. This one here, we've got a few of the good teams left in this one. We're going to be talking about home of Bondi, Sydney Roosters. Team I think will definitely be on the rise and on the improvement in 2026 for sure. But before we get stuck into it, as I said, I've got 10 out before this one. So if you're just watching this one, remember to go check out the other 10 I've released. I'll also be having I released 2 a week coming up to the NRL season. I also have the Penrith Panthers coming out around the same time as well as the Roosters one. But your previous 10, we've done Manly, the Raiders, Warriors, Cowboys, Doggies, Dolphins, Tigers, the Sharks, the Titans, and the Dragons. So 10 of them all there for you to go check out before or after you watch this one here. But essentially doing the same through all our NRL previews. We're going to do a recap a little bit of their 2025 season and how they went. And then we're going to mainly look at their 2026 gains and losses. Who have they signed for the 2026 season I think can make a big difference? And who have they lost for the 2026 season that I think could make a difference as well? Then we're going to have a look at their best 1 to 17 for round 1, obviously pending any big injuries at all. And then I'm going to have a look at the rest of their squad. Is it deep? Is it going to be concerning if they have any injuries later on in the season? And then we're going to have a look at their draw as well. How is their draw shaping up for 2026? Is there a couple good matchups? Do they start easy? Do they start a bit harder? When is their buys? Is it during the origin period? How badly will they be affected during the origin period? And then obviously going to start off with my ladder predictions. So before we get started into all of it, remember to give this video on YouTube a massive like if you are watching. Subscribe to the channel as well. Remember I said go check out all the other ones there as well. I said team number 11 of the 17. But without further ado, as I said, the Sydney Roosters for this week in the podcasters and the Penrith Panthers will be coming out at the same time for you on Tuesday morning. So Sydney Roosters, I think, will be definitely a team on the improve in 2026. 2025 finishing 8th on the ladder, obviously getting bowed out to the Sharkies down there at Shark Stadium there in the first week of September. A game that they probably had a chance to win, honestly, and just didn't really perform at the level that we know they can. And this squad, you look at it, it's absolutely stacked in my opinion. Absolutely stacked. Probably the best 1 to 17 on paper out there, in my opinion, going into this year. And probably you can't really say it was a pass mark last year, considering all things. I get it, Sam Walker was out first half of the year and that sort of thing, but they have got a lot of talent on that roster and they just didn't quite perform when they really did need to. But 2025, so finished in 8th, won 13 and lost 11, so only just winning over half their games. In terms of attack, it doesn't really shy down the attack. 653 points for the year. That finished as the 5th best for the season, so just outside the top 4. Defense-wise, 521 points conceded, which is just a little tick about over sort of close to 22 points a game, which finished in 8th, so the top 8 in defense for the year. So you probably look at where that ladder position actually finished, and you probably think that's probably a fair sort of finish, finishing in 8th. I do remember them, losing a couple little close ones, and they always just seem to slip up against a team that they probably should win by, you'd think, like double digits, I guess. And it's just, there's sometimes a hard team to get a hold of the Roosters and just sort of where they're at, but then they'll come out, the next week after and absolutely dominate a really good team. But the main thing for the Roosters is they really do struggle to compete against like your big teams like your Panthers and your Storm, which I haven't got a good record of under Trent Robinson. They'll obviously be looking to go a little bit better than that heading into 2026. Speaking of Trent Robinson, always go through to coach. He's contracted until end of 2028. Obviously, he's won 3 premierships now with the Roosters there. First one to go back-to-back in quite some time. Hasn't had that success as in a premiership, even in a grand final, for close to 6 or 7 years now. Got to the prelim a couple times, but just falling short there. This is a team that I look at now that should be finishing top 4 and should be at least making a prelim. I think Losing a prelim would be just a pass mark, but I'm looking at this team thinking they should be making a grand final and very close to actually winning the premiership for 2026. But let's have a look at their 2026 games, because there are a couple big names on there, as we know. Let's start off with the obvious one. Daly Cherry Evans coming over for Manly Seagulls for the year. Looks like this will be his sort of last year going around in the NRL. I mean, like, what a career for DCE, right? He's won a premiership with Manly in 2011 in his rookie season, won plenty of Origin Series, won a World Cup with Australia as well. Absolute career, and now he gets to finish his career off just like Cooper Cronk did at the Roosters. They're partnering Sammy Walker for 2026, and it was one of those ones where signings where, like, DCE was, we knew he was leaving Manly, and then it just became one of those things. Where's he going to go? And the Roosters started, becoming a bit of a room, and you thought, why? Like him, Hugo Savala and Sammy Walker were just sort of starting to cook in that season a bit, just starting to gel really well together. Hugo Savala is coming out of nowhere a little bit. And just playing really well. Had Sandon Smith in there. We know his talent now. He's off to Newcastle. I did really like, Sammy Walker and Hugo Savala together. And I think you just don't know. Is it going to be like a one-season wonder? Is Daly Cherry Evans going to teach Sammy Walker a lot where Sammy Walker can really progress? Is DC going to play that 6 and a little bit behind the Sammy Walker? Is Sammy Walker going to play a 7 role and really take action with the ball? Or does Daly, with all the experience, take action of the ball and let Sammy just, do his, like, sort of out of the blue, sort of like, what's the sort of thing? Just kind of his thing, right? We know what Sammy Walker is like when he gets the ball. He's not too much of a structural player. Kind of reminds me of, like, Lockie Galvin a bit in a way, or Lockie Galvin reminds me a bit of Sammy Walker in a way, where we just see, like, these classic rugby league moments with Sammy Walker. He does a chip and chase, or he does these unorthodox kicks. That's the word I was looking for, unorthodox. Very unorthodox player, but it's absolutely unreal to see when he's on. I think he's honestly one of the best sevens going around, players going around in the comp when he is playing at that level. It's just a matter of fact of staying consistent with that level, Sammy Walker, for the season. How he pairs with Daly Cherry Evans, I can only see positives, really. The more and more it happens, the more and more you see Daly Cherry Evans in a Roosters jersey, which looks really weird, you kind of start to get the sense that it will work. It may take a little bit to gel at the start, and they've got a hard schedule to start as well. But you can just see maybe mid through the season and back end of the season, these two really actually clicking together, and the Roosters starting to play some really dangerous footy and really contending against these big teams. And I have them coming fourth for the season. I forgot to mention that at the start. So I did a ladder predictive video probably about a month and a half ago now, where I did a very, very early 1 to 17 ladder predictor going through every single team, why I think they'll finish that position. I have the Roosters coming in fourth. Very hard. I think they're definitely a top 4 caliber team. I think they'll finish anywhere amongst that top 4. Maybe not quite minor premiers, but they've got easily a good enough team on paper to finish top 4. I don't think there's any excuse now for the Roosters. They've got 2 big guns that 2 Origin stars that they've wanted and kind of needed to take that extra step. You still got James Tedesco there. Make sure you go check that out as well and see why I think the Roosters finish it. I've kept it just for fairness, all the same positions from that video about sort of 5-6 weeks ago, just for all my previews, just to sort of make it fair. Keep it the same. My opinion hasn't changed too much on opinions from that long ago into this one. Obviously, preseason will change that a little bit. So that's DCE there. I think he will work quite well as Sammy Walker. I can't see it not working, really. I think he's in such a good system. I think he's out of, Manly, where I know he was so loved and he loved being at Manly, but just needed the back end. It got a bit sort of awkward. Not sort of really a good end to his tenure there at Manly. Fresh beginnings there at the Roosters. I think it's got 1 year left. You'll want to go super hard and finish on a high. So, yeah, I think DCE will work quite well within the spine. Obviously, you got the next one here, Reece Robson. What a signing. This signing seems to go so under the radar, I feel like. And I only say that because I've been doing Supercoach Team Picker, that sort of thing. Reece Robson hasn't really been getting mentioned a whole lot. It feels like your Reed Marnies have been talked about a little bit more than your Reece Robsons. What an like, just feels like an under the radar kind of signing. It just feels like it could be such a pivotal one. You're getting the New South Wales hooker, starting hooker, straight into the starting team, surrounded by DCE, who is captain of Queensland. Sammy Walker, who on his day is easily one of the best players going around. And then you got James Tedesco, the Dally M medalist. This spine is absolutely crazy. It is crazy. And then, like, you know, who was in, like, you had a bit of Connor Watson there. Obviously, like, last year at number 9 there. Now you got Reece Robson, an out-and-out hooker, a guy who can play 60, 65 plus easily, if not close to 80 minutes, make a lot of tackles, really good running game. Pair it with Sammy Walker, DCE, and Tedesco. Just, it's one of the best, if not the best spine going around in the comp for mine. I just think it's such an undervalued signing that not many people are talking about it. Until we see it, maybe, I think he will kick really early, like quite early on. I think after, you know, round 4, 5, 6, we'll be talking about Reece Robson going like, holy dooly, you've got him in a better system now than the Cowboys. He's sort of back home, closer to his family in New South Wales there, and now he's absolutely taken another lead. Kind of what we saw, I guess, maybe with Blake Brayley near the back half of last year. I reckon Reece Robson will be one of those kind of players as well, where we look back at it after, you know, not even halfway through a season when he gets to Origin and go like, he's out and out. Definitely the hooker choice for New South Wales coming into Origin. I absolutely love that signing. Absolutely love that signing for the Roosters coming to this year. Absolutely love it. Next one. A couple wingers. We've got Cody Ramsey coming over from the Dragons for 2 years. I mean, really handy replacement. You've got another winger there and Tommy Talau as well coming over from Manly for the year. 2 really handy replacements. If Tupou or Mark Nawaqanitawase goes down during the season, maybe even like a Bobby Toyer goes down and Billy Smith, you can slot one of those guys in straight away and pretty much like kind of know what you're going to get. I don't think you're going to get too much of a decline. Obviously, there is a bit of a difference between Tupou, like Marky Mark, like Nawaqanitawase, and those 2 guys. These 2 guys have played NRL before, though. It's not like they're coming from New South Wales Cup. It's not like they're 19, 20 years old, haven't played like fuck all sort of NRL games. And whether they got the opportunity, I'm not quite sure. They won't get it from like starting in the training, which kind of sucks for them. But definitely as injury cover, I think they're really good signings for the Roosters. Let's have a look at their 2026 losses. So there are a few sort of on this list. So let's go through it. We've got Zach Docker-Clay going to Manly, a guy that sort of came in and out that 14, a little bit of that 9 role for Roosters. I thought he was quite good last year, honestly. I thought when he got his opportunity to start, Connor Watson coming off the bench a little bit, I thought he was really good, honestly. I don't know how much game time he's going to get at Manly, but I hope he gets his opportunity. We've got Brandon Smith, a guy, he went to South near the back end of last year, a guy that just didn't really ever kick off at the Roosters. Was a big signing a few years ago in 2023 when he actually came to the Roosters. Just never seemed to flourish. Never really got caught up with injuries. He just, I don't know if he wasn't dedicated there at the Roosters. Just didn't quite fit in. Wasn't for him, so Roosters won't really miss him too much. Sandon Smith, I really like Sandon Smith as a player. I think he's going to end up in a 14 role for the Knights this year. Going to get more game time, hopefully, because Sandon Smith, you look at this team now, I just don't know where it actually does fit in. They've decided to keep Hugo Savala over Sandon Smith, and I just don't know, now that you've got DC in there, obviously, if you've got a healthy team, you've got, like, Walker and DC in the halves, you've got Reece Robson in your 9 role, then you got Connor Watson, like, so kind of in, like, that 13, 14 role there as well, and then you still got Hugo Savala there as well. I think Sanders made the right decision. I just don't see how much game time he honestly would have got. Chatty Townsend, he's retired now, but look, he had his struggles at the start of last year. He was a 1 season sort of hiring for the Roosters, got the starting role in round 1 last year and just didn't really do a whole lot. He wasn't that good and just really couldn't keep up with the modern generation, I guess, of rugby league. And so, yeah, he's retired now. Great career, Chad Sandon, like premiership player. Can't take that off him ever. And then the last one, this happened sort of near the back end of last year, and that is Dom Young. So Dom Young officially gone from the Roosters. Dom Young, man, a guy that just could absolutely turn it on, and then next day just looked like you just like, have you ever touched a rugby league ball before? Kind of gave me like, like Manu Vative vibes a little bit. A guy just on his day, you're just like, oh my goodness gracious me. He is one of the best wingers in the comp. And then on his off day, you just be like, oh my goodness gracious me. What? Like, you don't even deserve to play Harold Matts at that sort of level. He's back home where he belongs, I think, in Newcastle. I think he's very loved there. I think he's treated a lot better there. I think he just fits in a whole lot better. So I'm happy for Dom that he's gone back to the Knights. He was like one of the best try scorers of 2024 for the Knights. So I don't see any reason why he shouldn't really go back. Or 2023, sorry. That is your 2026 gains and losses for the Roosters. Now let's have a look at their 1-17. Now it is pretty, like, obviously unchanged apart from the main sort of two guys, right? It's very interesting to see, going to be interesting to see where maybe the lock role and maybe sort of that 14 role comes in. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Your back five is still the same as last year, though. Number one, James Tedesco. Well, say less, really. Dally M medalist last year, absolutely shattered in as well. Easily the best player on the rugby league field in NRL last year by a country mile. I thought, in my opinion, was a landslide Dally M. Obviously, if Luke Metcalf didn't get injured, maybe a little bit different story. Obviously, bowed out of the New South Wales Origin squad back in 2024. There's always these talks. Is he going to be back there? Is he going to be back there? You just never know, hey. You just never know. I don't know if Laurie Daly actually has the balls to come and bring him back, maybe as a non-captain as well. I think, honestly, just let him play NRL. I think as good as he is, and he definitely can play for New South Wales again, I think his full focus should just be the Roosters again and just honestly trying to win another premiership for them. He's he signed on until the end of 2027, I believe, so he's still going around next year as well. I mean, Teddy, it just feels like every year we kind of forget about him because you got your Reece Walsh's, and like your Dylan Edwards, you've got Drinkwaters, that sort of thing. And then you kind of think, James Tedesco, he's had his prime, he's gone sort of past it, and then he just has his moments where you're like, oh my goodness gracious me. He is unbelievable at what he does. And I said, last year, he was so consistent. He was everywhere. Absolutely everywhere for the Roosters. And I said, absolute flew in the Dally M. Absolute flew in. So no doubt he'll just continue being fullback for the Roosters. Never any under pressure for James Tedesco whatsoever. Your wingers, you got Daniel Tupou on the left. I mean, literally the best ever try scorer for the Roosters, without a doubt. Daniel Tupou feels like a guy every single year goes under the radar, and then you just see him do these freak kind of shit where it's cross-field kicks and he's just jumping up super high in the air. These put downs. He is just unbelievable, Daniel Tupou. One of the very, very underrated wingers that we have in our comp. I honestly think he's a top 5 winger in our comp. The other winger, Mark Nwanganitawase, absolutely nailed the name there. Back to rugby union back in 2027. A freak, right? Try scorer of the year last year in the NRL. Had the try of the year as well, voted by the NRL. That try against the Doggies where he went down the sideline, like grubbed it in, kept it in, and then like hopped on one foot like 3 times and just like regathered and just scored in the corner. It was absolutely unbelievable. He is a freak of nature athlete, and the Roosters, I think, will definitely miss him. I'm not sure if they're going to make another big signing. They're going to have, obviously, Ruben Garrick there next year to replace him. So they've already made the signing. I think it's a pretty good signing, obviously, to replace him. But Mark, absolute freak. So Mark Nwanganitawase fits into that winger role there as well. In your centre roles, I think there's one little downside to the starting sort of 17. On the right side, you got Bobby Toya. Absolutely, that is not the downside I'm talking about. His Origin debut last year, won obviously Rookie of the Year, Dally M Rookie of the Year in the NRL as well. Absolute stellar year. I mean, he absolutely killed it at the Roosters and then gets his opportunity at Origin, and I thought really proved himself as well. I think he got pretty scorched by Crichton, I think, in game 1, but really turned it around in game 2 and 3 to win the series. Here's the other one, Billy Smith. Now, Billy Smith has been an absolute journeyman, right? He stayed at the Roosters. Roosters have stayed super loyal. Holy dooly, he's been injury prone. And it seemed like for a lot of last year, finally he went unscathed through injury. And you see these games from Billy Smith and you just think, oh my goodness gracious me. Like the Roosters, no wonder they've kept them and like stayed loyal. Then there's some other games you just like, really? Should he be the starting center? Have they got someone better there in the starting center role? Billy Smith is a really weird one. One was rumored to go to R360 this year. That's obviously not happening anymore until 2028. Bit of a weird one with Billy Smith. I'm not sure. Like, let's see who they've got. I don't know if maybe like a Junior Chupo or something what might sort of threaten there during the year. Maybe even a Cody Ramsey there. I just want to see how Billy Smith goes. I know he's got the game. I just want to see consistently. If he has 4 or 5 scratchy games in a row at the start, I'm just very curious to see how he actually goes and what like Trent Robinson decides to do. I say that he stays. I want to see Billy Smith perform well because he's been in and around the NRL for feels like a while now, but just so injured. ACLs and Achilles, that sort of thing. But I want to see Billy Smith play, but is he at the level that he should be to fit into this team? No, I don't quite think so. Let's look at the halves. So this is a hard one, right? Whether you have 6, 7, whether you have Sammy Walker in the 6 or the 7, and whether you have DCE in the 7 or the 6. I would like to see Sammy Walker in the 7 role. I think this is Sammy Walker's team. I think DCE can still play a really pivotal role in the 6 role, in that role, even just with the number 6 jersey on his back. Whether they try and mix it around, kind of like what Braden Trindle and like a Nico Hines kind of do kind of thing, or like maybe like a Munster and a Hughes kind of thing, I'm not sure. Daly Cherry Evans obviously doesn't have the running game quite like Munster does, that sort of thing, but in terms of game management, I think Sammy Walker can really actually rely on DCE and maybe even that kicking game if he needs to. I think Daly, you're going to expect them with a lot of assists. And I think Sammy Walker, I think we just need to see Sammy Walker play his game and be able to trust his 5'8", that he's got some backup and he's got, the support behind him to, go for that run when he needs to. And I don't want to feel like if Sammy Walker has a 7 jersey on, he has to be like that game manager. I just want to see Sammy Walker be Sammy Walker. But for me, this is Sammy Walker's team. And it has been Sammy Walker's team, and I don't want to see it shy away just for 1 year, just because DCE has arrived and then it goes back to Sammy's team. I want to continue seeing it being Sam Walker's team. I want to see DCE take that little bit of a step back, just a tiny bit. Doesn't have to be like fully step back and just say it's all your team, like all yours, Sammy. These two can work really well together, as I just spoke about. But it's how they work well together. Like, is it, one play the hot hand just on its day, kind of like the Sharks, and see what they do. I'm very, very intrigued to see. So curious to see how it is. I obviously play my Warriors in round 1. I am uber curious to see how these two line up together in round 1. Does Sammy Walker just keep the 7 jersey? Does he go to 6? Yeah, I'm just not quite sure. In your starting forward pack, holy dooly, this dude is epic. I love this dude. Naf White had a career year last year. Naf White, absolute career year. Cannot go against him at all. He deserves his starting spot. I absolutely love Naf White. And then you got Lindsay Collins in there as well. Lindsay Collins, I mean, he's just a weapon, right? Like, he's been through the NRL. He's obviously getting a little bit older, a little bit tired. Can't play the longer minutes that he used to. But man, if you need him to make a tough tackle or a tough run, Lindsay Collins is your guy. In your hooker role, starting without doubt, Reece Robson, get him straight in there. We know he can play you 60, 65, 70, even close to 80 minutes if needed. Make a whole bunch of tackles. Adds a little bit more of a running game, I think, for the Roosters as well. And with him, that running game, catching out tired defenders, and you got Tedesco looming up. Then you got, Sammy Walker there as well. We could be seeing like that Storm Big 3 where it used to, be Cam Smith at a dummy half and give that pass to Cooper Cronk and Billy Slater's on the inside. We could see a Reece Robson to like a Sammy Walker or DCE back inside to Tedesco, and it could just be game over, shut the gate, see you later, Tedesco under the post. We could see that a lot this year. In your edges, on your right edge, you got Siwa Wong. Good to see him be back last year. It was good to see him have a really good year. We know, if you listen to Rugby League Guru, who I listen to a lot, he has praised Siwa Wong for a very, very long time and praised him and said this kid is it. This kid is going to be a superstar. And we didn't see it in 23 or 24, but in 25 we finally saw what Siwa Wong is made of, and he gets the starting role. The other side, you've got Angus Crichton there, you got Critter. say less about Angus. Wally Lewis-Menela's back in 2024. Had a little bit of a down year last year. He had an absolute career year coming off that sort of that year off back in 2023. Absolutely brained it in 2024. Absolutely killed it. As I had a little bit of a down year last year, but I think he'll be bouncing back pretty hard. Now, I've got Victor Radley there in the 13 role at lock. You could easily put Connor Watson there. You could bring Connor Watson on for a bit of energy pace, halfway through the first half and halfway through the second to replace Victor Radley. Maybe you bring Siwa Wong a little bit off, maybe move Victor to the edge, Connor in that lock role area, and maybe give Reece Robson a break, move Connor into that 9 role. The beauty of the Connor is you can move him pretty much anywhere, and you know he's going to do a decent job, whether it's hooker, whether it's lock roll, where you need to get him into the halves at all if there's some sort of injury. Maybe you defend on the edge. You know he can do it. He is unbelievable. That's why he's a 14 for New South Wales. Absolutely love Connor Watson. 15, I've gone for Blake Steep there. Another up-and-coming gun forward for the Roosters there. Gets his opportunity on the bench there again. In your 16 role, gone for Nat Butcher. Nat Butcher, he's been in the starting role for the Roosters for quite a while, but now you got Siwa coming through. I think that pushes Nat to the bench. And then, of course, in your 17 role, we're going for Spencer Leniu. Absolute workhorse bench off the bench there, coming in for your big hits, your big runs, your big tackles. Just that bit of energy that the Roosters need after that sort of 20-minute mark. Once Lindsay and Naf White get the big work done in the first 20 minutes, bring Spencer on. He's going to have an impact on the game. Now, let's look at the rest of the squad, and this is where I think it's just so bloody strong. It's just like, if you've got an injury there, here or there, there's a lot of cover there for the Roosters. You got Salisi Feketi, you got Junior Paunga, you got Junior Tupou, you got Xavier Va'a. Holy dooly. It's just like, if you haven't heard these guys, these are really good up-and-coming like young guards. Like Junior Tupou was really good at Tigers, just didn't quite get the opportunity at the Dolphins. Feketi is really good. Junior Paunga, whenever he seems to come in, Junior Paunga, for that one-off game, he kills it. You got Lasalu. Like, he is an absolute beast. You got Egan Butcher, who's played plenty of NRL games. You got Jake Elliott there as well. You got Luelu. Luelu came out of absolute nowhere last year. He got his starting role a couple times at the number 9 role, even at 14. Really took his opportunity, I thought. Good to see him still there in the top 30. Toby Rodwell, another up-and-coming Rooster forward coming through. And then the other 3 we spoke about: Cody Ramsey, Tommy Talau, Hugo Savala. Imagine if there's an injury just so happened to be to Sam Walker. You just put Hugo Savala straight in there, and you probably wouldn't see much of a difference. You probably wouldn't see much of a downgrade. Like, honestly, if there was to be an injury that really does impact it, maybe Tedesco, obviously. I'm not sure who would probably go to fullback in that situation. Maybe Nwangani Tawase, maybe Cody Ramsey goes in that situation. Obviously, like, touch wood that it doesn't. But it just feels like if there's an injury to the Roosters, which, like, Roosters seem to have injuries, feels like they're not going to be as badly affected as they have been in previous years. The Roosters squad is looking absolutely stacked. I think 1 to 17 on paper, you look at that, I think it's probably the best 17 going around in the comp. It may be, honestly, a little bit light that I have them finishing in 4th. I think this team can go a very, very long way. I think their signings are awesome. The 2 marquee ones are DCE and Reece Robson. I think they'll fit in really well. And there's only one reason why they've signed DCE to a 1-year contract and why they think it will be good, and that is to win a ring. That is to win a premiership in 2026. Let's have a look at their draw heading into 2026. A little bit of a longer preview than other clubs, just because I really like this Roosters team. But teams they played twice. So out of the top 8, obviously there's only 7 other teams in the top 8 that they'll have to play. But there is the Panthers they played twice, Broncos, Sharks, and the Storm that they played twice. So honestly, that's probably three of like the toughest ones that you've got there. Sharkies is not too bad. Then they've also got the Rabbits, Dolphins, Knights, and Cowboys twice, which is pretty friendly. I think the Cowboys one is in at Magic Round as well. Dolphins is not too bad. Knights is not too bad. South is obviously an interesting one. Like, you just never know what you're going to get in that matchup there. What I will say is, that Storm, like, having to play the Panthers on the road and Storm on the road is going to be tricky, and the Broncos on the road. That's 3 very, very tricky games. Sharks, you just never know. I think they'll be probably up for that one, a bit of like finals revenge in that one. So they only have to play the Raiders, the Warriors, and the Doggies once, right? That top 8 that we mentioned. They play the Raiders and the Warriors on the road. They open their season in New Zealand. And then they play the Bulldogs at home, which is at Allianz, which is not too far of a trek for the Doggies. They have their buys in round 5, round 12, and round 18. So 2 of them during the Origin period. When you look at this team and who will be playing in Origin, potentially Tedesco. Probably Bobby Toya. Probably not Sam Walker and DCE. Probably Reece Robson. Potentially Lindsay Collins. Potentially Angus Crichton. Potentially Connor Watson. Potentially Spencer Leniu. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7 Origin players. That's 17. Nearly half their team could be playing in Origin. So they're going to have to really play well during that Origin period and really start well and really finish the season well if they finish in the top 4. As I spoke about their start, their schedule is brutal to start the season. It is brutal. They start in New Zealand, as I said. Then they come home after a brutal New Zealand trip, come and play their old rival, South Sydney Rabbitohs. Then they play the Panthers. Then they go to a trip to Manly for DC's first trip back to Brookie. Then they get a bye after that, after 4 weeks there, and then they go play the Sharkies in Perth. That is the first 5 or 6 rounds. 5 very, very tricky matchups. Obviously getting the bye in there, which wouldn't matter too much early on in the season when fitness is just sort of starting to pick up. Fatigue isn't really there too much. But yeah, that's 5 very tricky matches. Honestly, if they're on, they can go 4-1, 5-0. If they're not on, it could be like a 1-4 situation, 2-3 situation, which not dire straits as a start, but not the start that you're really sort of looking for. But I really do believe in this Roosters team for this year. And yeah, that's why I've got them coming 4th. Would not shock me to see them finish higher than 4th. I think anything below in that 5th to 8th would be fine, a pass mark. Anything outside the top 8 is an absolute fail. I think anything that is not a prelim or better is a fail for the season. I think a loss in a prelim would just be an expectation. I think making a grand final should be at least the pass mark for the Roosters and then winning the whole thing. This team is easily good enough, easily good enough to win it all this year. Roosters team, Sydney Roosters, looking very, very good for 2026. That will do it for the Sydney Roosters preview. We went through their 2025 recap, looking at their 2026 gains and losses for the season. Obviously, DC and Reece Robson, the big signings. How they fit into the 1-17, looking at their best 1-17 and the rest of their squad, and then going through their draw, how they'll fare during the Origin period, and which Origin players that they'll have missing. But yeah, that was super fun. Really high praise on the Roosters this year. Remember to go check out the other 10 teams previously as well, and my ladder predictor as well that linked with this one. Roosters finishing in 4th for 2026. Remember to go check out the Panthers one, released at the same time as well. But thank you so much for watching, and cheers.